There we go. Can you guys hear us better now? I hope that's working.
Hey, y'all. We home?
Yo. Yes. Okay.
Woo!
Except for instead of my face, we got WNBA Weekly logo. That's cool. That looks better. That looks
There he
better than my
is.
actual face. Oh, there we go.
Welcome to the stream, everybody.
Guys, we're so pumped. We are so excited that you guys are
Got
going
this
to come
figured
hang
out.
out with us. So we've got several of you already hitting us up. We got Megan Hines. We got Max hitting us up on our YouTube chat over here. Thanks for hanging out. We're super pumped to just kind of chat with you guys. You know, Steve and I have a bunch to talk about tonight. I know that he and I both have been just like texting and messaging our like Facebook chat a whole bunch with Logan and Jason, and we've got a ton of takes on tonight. And so as we're talking, we want you guys to right over here. I think I'm doing this correctly. Yeah. Over in the chat, we want to hear from you guys there. We'll try to also check on Twitter if you guys are replying to us on Twitter and on Facebook as well. So anyway, we're super stoked. But Steve, how's it going, man?
I am so good. It is so fun to talk about something that has nothing to do with the Bus family or the Rambus family.
I was gonna say you've had kind of a week.
I need the WNBA to be back full steam so badly because the rest of the sports world is just giving up, and this is the best time of the year. It's Christmas in May.
It really is. Or LeVar Ball, yeah.
Whatever it is. Yeah, so like Kyle said, send us some Qs. We'll have some A's for you. Also, if you hit the notification bell, first of all, subscribe to the channel. And if you hit the notification bell, you'll get a push anytime we're doing these streams. We're going to try to do a lot of them this year. So after big games of the week, especially things like that, when there's big news happening, we want to give you guys some live immediate reacts. So be on the lookout for that type of stuff. But yeah, fun week in the league. Lots of good stuff. It's been emotional, honestly. And so it just felt like we got two big stories, possibly more to talk about. What do you want to start with?
You know what? Like, I think we start off with like the big news, right? Like the most recent stuff. Let's hop right into Liz Cambage, dude.
Yeah, I'd say the 6'8" news.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. Like the 6'8"
news. Right? News. Am I wrong? I'm looking upstairs.
Yeah, pretty sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Griner's 6'9", so I think she's 6'8".
Someone tell me if I'm wrong. I'm almost always wrong about everything. 6'8", I called it.
It's official, man. Official. We've been waiting on this since, I don't know how long we've been waiting on this. It's been a little while since, we were hearing about Liz Cambage wanting to trade. A lot of rumors going back and forth where she could go. Initially, we weren't really sure. We could kind of guess anywhere, and then it kind of became apparent that she was going to go to either Los Angeles or Las Vegas. It was kind of down to those two. And for a long time, everybody was like, oh, it's obviously Los Angeles. She goes to Coachella with Candace Parker. She's hanging out in LA all the time. So I thought that was pretty sweet. I thought that was going to be kind of the obvious take. And I thought that a lot of the assets that LA was picking up fit for a trade. To make a trade with Dallas. And so having that not happen was kind of surprising to me when instead they, they got Shanae and some others, Kalani Brown is there. And so kind of crazy that that Liz didn't up in LA, but dude, Vegas, baby. What do you think, Steve? What was your initial reaction today when you heard the official news, when it became like 10 out of 10 official?
First of all, I'm coming off of a bad cold, and my mute button's sticking on my mic. I'm sorry, everyone. We're doing this. Can y'all just, again, it's sticking. If y'all can't hear me say something, but
I can hear you. I think we can hear you.
I'll tell you what honestly surprised me the most. More than being excited about the idea of Cambage being in Vegas, playing with Asia Wilson, all of that. Looking at the deal more than anything, if I'm Vegas, I'm excited I didn't have to ship Kayla McBride. That's the part of this move that I actually think excites me the most, because when you look at this move, when you look at this package, you essentially didn't have to lose all of the momentum that the Aces had leading into a potential playoff berth last year, they were essentially a forfeit away from the playoffs. Every piece of value you had, you got to hang on to.
Yeah.
And on top of that, you got one of the top 5 players in the league to join your next great superstar. So that makes complete sense. But the biggest thing with me is that on top of having this great front court presence, you have a stone cold killer ready to make shots from any part of the floor. And that's what amazes me. What it honestly reminds me of, I think about the 2016 Sparks. Won the title in 2016, couldn't quite get it done. And I think one thing that was missing, Christy Tolliver went to Washington, and you had great talent. You had your Candace Parker, you had Neko Gumake, you had Odyssey Sims, you had Chelsea Gray. But it's one thing to have that sniper that you know can get you a clean shot anywhere on the floor, that closer type feel. And they've got great scorers. I mean, we're obviously not here to talk about the Sparks. Right. I get that same feel here. You have your superstars down low, and you have those people in the tower ready to attack. I just think, it adds to a complete thing. We'll get to some critical pieces in a second. There's elements here and there where I'm not fully bought in on it, but that's what I'm excited about. This is more than just getting a star. They essentially have just a complete murderer's row, and you got to be excited about that.
They really do. The fact that you've still locked in, you've got Asia Wilson, you've got Kelsey Plum, you've got Kayla McBride. Like, you've got a really solid, young core. In fact, we have a graphic that we'll throw up right now of kind of what we could see as a potential starting lineup, if not, a potential regular lineup, if not at least a starting lineup.
I think this is what a lot of people have been tweeting out.
Yeah. So, we've got Kelsey Plum, Jackie Young, obviously Kayla McBride, Asia Wilson, and then you throw Liz Cambage in to kind of finish up the group of 5 there. That is a solid group. And you know what I like about it is that I think a lot of people are looking at Kelsey Plum like she needed to be that dominant scorer, and she doesn't. You've got 3 bona fide scorers in Cambage, Wilson, and McBride, so that you've got Jackie Young coming in that she can kind of find her own role. You've got Kelsey Plum that can be that facilitator, kind of find her own comfort zone there, and be able to really kind of facilitate there from the guards. And I'm excited, man. I'm thinking there's going to be a lot of really, really solid play from these 5 on the court at the same time.
And you know what? I was obviously bullish. Anyone who knows me knows I was very bullish about Asia Durr going number 1 in the draft. And I love Jackie Young, but that was one thing that I questioned. With this move in play, I get it completely now, because Asia Durr is a great, phenomenal scorer, but you have people that can be ball dominant and score here. Now with Jackie Young, you have someone that has a dynamic, balanced style of play. They can stretch well. They can distribute if needed. They rebound really well for their size. You have such a well-balanced backcourt. And just like you said, I love with Plum and with McBride, you almost give them those single tools. Just get the ball in the bucket. And so that's exciting. You deepen the bench a little bit. I mean, there's just a lot to be stoked about here. I have one reservation about crowning these guys. Because here's what I want to ask you to this.
Yeah.
Where does this put the Aces were a game shy of, really a tiebreaker shy of the playoffs.
Yeah.
Where are you putting them now? Are they a title contender? Are they a playoff bye contender? Where do they stand now that they're in this position?
That's a tough question. I'll be honest. I know a lot of people are kind of putting them right at the top of the league, like top dogs up there. A lot of people also put in LA. But here's the thing people are forgetting. That, if they're like, oh, immediately Las Vegas, they're going to be, they're probably the favorites right now. You cannot forget that you still have LA that's just stacked with talent, and that now has added Kalani Brown and a second Agumake sister. I mean, LA on paper might have the most talent, even more so than Las Vegas. Now, first-year coach with Derek Fisher, I get that. So we'll see what happens there. But on paper, they're super talented. where my bigger reservation actually comes is in two other teams, is in both Washington, who
Mhm.
made the finals last year, didn't really lose anybody, and added Emma Miesemann, who's had just a blowout career the last couple seasons
Yep.
overseas and is just solid. And the second team that makes me hesitant to crown Las Vegas is Phoenix. Phoenix was literally seconds away from locking down a finals appearance, and yet they really didn't lose anybody. They added some really, really phenomenal players, both in trades and in free agency, and as well in the draft. So they've got some really
Yeah.
solid like production coming in to a team that was already stacked and loaded. Now, my only concern with Phoenix is if they kind of fall behind in the standings when they don't have Diana Taurasi early on in the season. That makes me nervous. But if they can still have a top 4 or 5
Yeah.
seed going into the playoffs with a healthy DT, I still think that that's a tough task for Las Vegas to overcome. That
Yeah.
being said, Las Vegas obviously a much bigger contender this season than they were last
Yeah.
season.
Phoenix might have top to bottom my favorite draft of the whole league. They had a really exciting draft. There's a lot of
Oh yeah,
interesting stuff to play with there. So that's, I mean, obviously there's a lot to play as far as just how many teams leveled up. And when you look at the Bree Stewart situation in Seattle, you have to believe that there's going to be a step back there. I mean, it's going to be much more competitive than I really, than we may have all expected. My reservations with Vegas, I'm hesitant to crown them, not for that reason at all, actually. It really comes down to this, and this is a weird way to put it. I'm about to transition like departments at work, right? And I've been dealing with that for several months. And I got a piece of advice from my current boss that I think about a lot. And it's, hey, when you're taking on like a new opportunity, make sure you're running to something and not from something.
I like that. Yeah,
And we can't overlook that Dallas had the pieces to be a great. This was a team that at certain points during the year were one of the top 2 to 3 teams in the standings. They had Skylar Diggins-Smith running on all cylinders. They had that was a solid put together team. Things broke out pretty heavily toward the end of the season, and there's a lot of different elements to that. And we know that Liz Cambage, phenomenal athlete, phenomenal player, record holder, single points in a game. Is the mental stamina going to be there once this new job gets difficult? Are we going to be able to keep that together? And now, granted, this is not even, I'm not even speaking to everything that we've seen like on social media. That's its own thing. I'm just talking about if you don't gel with your teammates, if you have a couple bad losses, is this team going to find a way to gel together, come together, and be a unit? And that's my one concern with the Liz Cambage. I haven't seen her be enough of a consummate teammate that she's yet the piece to create a title team. Now, talent alone can trump that sometimes. So I could easily be wrong. But that's the one thing I'm interested to see. Like, you've got a phenomenal coach in Bill Lambier, who is a great people person, really good with those types of attitudes. That puts you in a good situation. Asia Wilson seems like an individual that is really easy to gel with and get along with. You've got a good attitude there. To me, it comes down to when these guys trip over a branch on the trail, are they going to respond with good stamina, come together as a team, or are they going to break things open? That's what more than I'm nervous about. That's why, like, when you bring up a team like Washington, that's a team ready to run things back, and they know how things are going. And their big addition is someone they know and they're ready to play with, albeit they are going to lose Miesemann for a month during the season. But that's where it's interesting to me. I'm cool being wrong, though. That's just the one thing I'm interested to see how that pans out.
No, I agree. I think that's huge. And as I'm looking through our chat, I want to give a quick shout out. We've got Dewey joining the chat. He mentions he thinks Jackie could be a point guard. Thanks for joining us, Dewey. Our really good friend Joe Boris hanging out with us. Hey Joe, so stoked that you're on with us tonight. She's saying they might look at that. Las Vegas is looking like a 5th or 6th finish to her. Brainless 329. I'm not sure who that is, but hey, what's up? He says anywhere from second to sixth. But I agree. I think that their youth is kind of a hindrance, because while they have talent, it is very young talent. But to counter that, they have Bill Laimbeer, who's proven in the past to be able to put a team together. So it'll be interesting to kind of see what kind of comes out from there.
It's so interesting because I love the WNBA so much. Second to sixth, that's so true.
It's so
and
true.
It makes me laugh. So like 2 points and the top 8 goes any which direction. And that's the interesting case here is there's a lot of dynamics that come into play. I think that range is spot on. I love the idea of Jackie Young becoming a premier point guard. I love that spot for her. And I think that's a strong move. That's a lot of cool stuff. I do want to call out one really quick move here, because I know the one thing we're questioning is the haul that Dallas got, which on paper,
yes,
not much. And that's where this gets interesting. Obviously, leverage play when it comes to these transactions is always interesting. The amount of time it took to make this move at this point, LA already says, hey, we're set. We got the Ogumake sisters. Like, we've kind of figured out our brand. We're not going to make this move. When you're in Vegas, you're kind of like, well, we're the one team, so what are you guys going to do? That makes sense.
Right.
The one thing I will say is I don't want to overlook Dallas's other move today. I think pulling in Imani McGee-Stafford actually, to me, is a strong move in the right direction here, because what you're doing is you're giving yourselves front court options, because now you're looking at a strong point in Imani McGee-Stafford. I'm just looking at the roster here. Obviously, Kayla George is always going to give you quality minutes. And I love the idea of giving Azra Stevens much more room to establish herself as a mainstay in the league. I was huge on Azra Stevens when she was drafted last year. I love the idea of her coming to Dallas. So there's a lot there to work with the front court. But Stafford, for all of this, when I even look at the return Atlanta got for her, it wasn't very much. And I wouldn't be shocked if Nikki Collin and company were just like, hey, Staff Lixon, we picked up Marie Gulich. We're going to do you a solid. Let's send you somewhere where you can get some quality minutes and make yourself happen. Like, let's turn you into the Natasha Howard of 2019.
Yeah.
Even if that means your team, is competitive. I could see that. I mean, that's someone that came in with a lot of buzz, has the potential to stretch out and do some good things. Obviously, there's no filling in for the talent of a Liz Cambage, but I do like that move. I'm interested in your thoughts about where Dallas takes things from here. They just lost one of their superstars. Who knows if and for how long they might have their other star. It's going to be an interesting year.
Oh, man. Dallas is my biggest question mark of the entire season. Like, I've been kind of working for the last 3 weeks, been kind of playing out my power rankings as far as where I'm going to have each team. And to be honest, dude, it has been tough. Because you see where we were last season, from second place to ninth place was decided by just a handful of games. And there was jockeying in those rankings, those final season standings, the last couple games of the season, and it was really intense. So as we know, there's a lot of parity throughout the league, but so Dallas, if they put it together, I could see them being snagging as high as a 6 seed. But if the wheels kind of fall off, if we don't see Sky Dig come back until really late in the season, I really could see them, drop in and even being surpassed by a team like the Fever, who I know is hungry to get out and come and start making noise in the league again.
Yeah.
So, dude, I have no idea where I've got Dallas right now. I want to hear from our YouTube chat right now. You guys, I want you guys, where do you guys see Dallas? Where do you see them placing in by season's end? Are you guys thinking that they're a huge like a big time question mark like me, or do you have a pretty solid opinion of where they're going to end up? I want to see what these guys are saying. But what about you, Steve? What are your thoughts?
Here's honestly what I think. I'm going to be dry with it. I don't think Dallas makes the playoffs this year. It just the pieces aren't quite there. I talked about, you have a lot of good pieces that you can develop. I don't know that there's enough. We don't know if we're going to see Sky Dig and for how long. So I don't know that there's going to be enough to make this roster work.
Yeah.
But there's two things in their strength. One, they have a whole season to cultivate that time with those players. and that means they could potentially add another piece next year. By the time they make that happen, there's a lot to be excited about there. Here's the other thing. Especially if you look at, the NBA draft lottery, honestly, the draft lottery from the last couple of years and the WNBA, call me conspiracy theorist. I'm a firm believer that draft lotteries are all set up for what's the best story we can create here in the league. I just think that's true. If not, we would just simply say worst team in the league gets the top spot, right?
Right.
And so I think Dallas puts themselves in the lottery pool. I have a really good feeling that says, hey, we set the narrative for Cambage to go to Vegas or LA. So you know what? We're gonna make sure you get Sabrina Ionescu next year, and we're gonna hand you that next star. Like honestly, I think that's what Dallas has potentially in their mind.
Right.
Is like, and I'm not. By the way, I don't expect Dallas to tank. That's not even remotely in the cards for a Brian Agler coach team. But if things don't go their way, I think that's got to be in the back of your head. It's like, okay, well, now we're in play. We were expecting one of the next generational strong, the next Asia Wilson strong level draftees to come in, decided they had unfinished business in Oregon, and now we might be in play for that. You wonder if that becomes a part of it. So I'm not calling conspiracy. I'm not an insider, but do not be shocked if the Wings find themselves at the top of the draft next year. I've got a sinking feeling that could potentially be the case. Who knows?
Man,
I've watched enough draft lotteries and I've seen enough draft orders to just come on now.
You feel for like a team like the Fever that's really struggled the last couple seasons and really is, kind of struggling to get like they haven't had a number one pick, and they finished last the last two seasons, and or not the last two, excuse me. The Stars actually in San Antonio finished last before that, but where they picked up Asia Wilson. But
totally.
I could see like a Fever being like, come on guys, like get us an Ionescu, like please. So I feel you on that one. There's a lot to be said on this. Obviously Atlanta didn't make huge waves. They kind of just picked up just a random draft selection, but Atlanta really doesn't have a ton to like. They got a pretty solid team. They're kind of ready to go.
They got their big in Marie Gulic. I really think that they know that is the next piece that they want to cultivate, and that's someone that plays Nikki Collins' style of ball. She's just tailor made for that system.
Yeah.
So I think they knew that. I think they perhaps I'm too optimistic, but there's a part of me that believes that a lot of this was very similar to the Natasha Howard's a signing, but it's very similar to that situation of, what? Go find, like, let's put you where there's some better pastures and go get yours. Like, I don't know that they were too worried about their return was there. You just sometimes when these relationships in a 12-team league, that can happen. So maybe that's it. Save a little bit of cap room as well. That's always nice.
That's true.
So,
where they've got some players coming up in contract years soon, and if they're wanting to keep a core of players around, you kind of move Imani McGee-Stafford off your payroll, and it opens some things up. So I do think that was more of a cap space move than anything, knowing they've got contracts coming up they got to re-sign in the next year or two. So that just makes sense. On paper, everybody's questioning like, oh, we didn't get anything for this hardly. That's okay. I think they're all right with it. They have a long-term plan. They know they're solid. They've got Coach Colin there that seems to be really building a solid team. Who knew that they would go all the way from next to nothing in 2017 to a second place finish in 2018. So that was a big turnaround for them. So they've got a lot to return back. Steve, do you have any kind of last thoughts on the Liz Cambage thing like that, or any of you? I'm seeing a lot of these.
I think we said a lot of what we were going to say. I want to hear what the WNBA community has to say. See if you have anyone else in chat with some thoughts, questions.
Yeah. So do you guys have any other questions or any other topics of discussion you want us to hit on before we move on from the Liz Cambage stuff? I'm seeing a lot of people saying that they don't have Dallas potentially as high as I was saying. A lot of them are saying, a playoff bubble, 8th to 10th, 7th to 10th. Agler's got a lot to turn around, and that makes sense. And they're, saying, let's see, there we go. Megan Hines, shout out to Megan. Dallas would be sitting out of the postseason again this season. Anyway, there's there's a lot there. So, yeah. Any other thoughts? Joe Boris says she's super mad at Greg Bibb. Okay. I like that.
Nice stuff.
Any other questions you guys want to hit up? Imani's trade history is pretty wild. Also, for Sky fans, wild to trade Imani for the pick that became Diamond to Shields. Ooh, that's a good point. Diamond to Shields was one of those like really sweet gems that came out of last season's draft.
I like what you did there.
I'm excited to see where kind of where she's at.
Gem. Y'all heard him. Sorry,
that was so good.
I like
diamond
it.
is definitely a diamond in the rough. Yeah, there we go.
There we go. That's it.
That was unintentional.
As a shining example of a really solid pun there. I like it. No, I love that as a call out. That's definitely solid. No, I love that call out for sure. I know we've doubled up on this a lot, so I think, should we talk about the boss for a little bit?
Yeah. Let's do that. Before we do though, I want to take a quick just a minor timeout. I'm curious. We've got several of you watching in chat. A lot of you, watching live and interacting on chat. Where are you guys? We want to see kind of what is the reach right now. Like, tell us where you guys are watching from. Are you in the States? If so, what state are you in? Where if you're worldwide. I know we've had a couple Australian listeners to the show reaching out to us lately. So let's see. So we got a Chicago. We got several from Chicago. There we go. That's pretty solid. One from Indonesia. Wow, solid. Dewey from Indonesia. Okay, I'll take it. Oh, are you paused on the timeout because I did the timeout? Is that what you're doing? Oh man, Arlington, Texas, Los Angeles. Steve's paused. I said he's pulling a Zach Morris timeout right here. California, Chicago, okay, we got one from Illinois, not Chicago. Ellen, are you a Sky fan? Even though you're not from Chicago, are you a Sky fan, or are you close enough to Indiana that you might be an Indiana fan? I'm curious. Rangers King, obviously Dallas. Okay, that makes sense. Dallas, Stampede and Wing support. Oh yeah. Oh, it's from the Stampede. Yeah, the Wing supporters group. Yeah, absolutely. Somebody from Arlington. Let's see. I think Steve's arm's gonna start cramping if I don't come off the timeout here. So let's go back in, dude. Guys, thank you all for listening. Thank you all for listening and for hanging out with us tonight. It's kind of fun to just chat with you guys and be able to kind of hear some of your thoughts. But Steve, dude, let's hop in. Let's talk about the commissioner for a sec. Let's see what we can come up to or come up with as far as what are your thoughts as far as her being hired?
Yeah, Kathy Engelbert. I want to say former CEO of Deloitte. I don't know if she's stepping down from that position. I don't know if that was made official or not. But CEO of Deloitte and Touche, was there for over 30 years. Sorry. Great basketball background, played for Lehigh. From everything we're hearing, has a huge passion for the game, huge passion for sports. Really feels like this is a dream scenario for her. She's always wanted to take on a role much like this. Seems really excited. I mean, immediately when the announcement came out, we had a video out of the WNBA account where she came in with some immediate thoughts. I thought that was kind of cool. You kind of just expect, hey, I'm excited, glad to be part of the league. She already came in with a couple immediate thoughts in that intro video on, here's kind of where my focuses lie. So obviously very interesting. This is someone with, when it comes to business acumen, I don't know that you do much to top this, honestly.
No, really. Yeah. If you're going to pull anybody from the business world into it, like there's nobody that you take from a bigger position than this, really. Like this,
Yeah.
she's at the top of the food chain.
Absolutely. She's, I believe, like first CEO level of like the big four corporations. This is the accolade I love the most, honestly. She is a frequent of Glassdoor's annual Employees' Choice Awards. Let me tell you something. I've not once read a positive Glassdoor review. I was assuming one didn't exist. It's usually just full of people who hate their jobs. So if you're making that list, you're doing something. No, I think on a business acumen, it makes sense. Obviously, she has a good sports background, understands that. This is brand new. It's hard to tell a lot of the details because I believe her official rollout is June 17th. That's when she'll officially take on the role full time.
Mm-hmm.
But it was announced today. And so there's a lot of questions that's going to be a while before we get answered. It seems like a lot of what her platform has so far has been more so in regard to want to build exposure for the league. We want to, help grow on that end, help expand and get better viewability. And that's all good and well. I think there's the one thing that's been missing language wise. I think the one thing that would have made this transition perfectly smooth. I need to hear one sentence, and it can be in writing, it can be verbally. I need to hear one sentence before June 17th that says, yeah, I'm also focused on making sure that these ladies get paid more.
Right.
I am focused on making sure that this Bree Stewart in Europe thing doesn't happen ever again. Like, yeah, I'm not saying you got to come in with the answer and magically from day one to day two, that's completely fixed. But on the marketing standpoint, I think they're pulling back from that. And I think they need to lean into it.
Yeah.
Because I don't think it's a question that when it comes to the state of the league right now, that's where a lot of these issues lie. And listen, expansion of the league, viewability, all of that all plays a role there. But there's also that economical discussion. We've seen the numbers over and over and over again. 50% of revenue in the NBA goes toward the players. 20% of WNBA revenue goes toward players in that league. So literally, if I hear one line that just says, just so you know, yeah, that's on my agenda. If I'm being completely honest, I never got the feeling that was ever really on Lisa Borders' agenda. I never felt like that was a standout embedded focus. I don't have as much exposure to her time as president as many did. That always felt that way. I want that comfortability to know that that's something they're digging in on. Because yes, growth and expansion and getting more eyes on the product is important. We're not going to hit a certain echelon until they get that high level star athlete treatment that they need. So that's where a lot of that question, like that's the one thing I'm curious about. And I'm not saying that's not a point. I mean, it's been a day. Like we have a few weeks until she officially starts. That could all get covered. That's just the one thing I think I'm waiting on. I'm really curious, like listeners and viewers, I'm really interested to hear like what reservations do you have? What are you excited about with this potential rollout? One thing I want to ask you, Kyle, is and obviously if you want to talk about your impressions on the hire, please do, because I'm talking a ton here. The one thing that almost kind of got tucked away that someone caught and we're all wondering about is the title change. She's not the WNBA president; she's WNBA commissioner. Mm-hmm. I wonder do you carry any weight with that? Is that interesting to you at all?
I do, actually. I think that's to me. I think that's going to be less of a. I do like the title change because to me it sounds more action based. Is that weird? That I feel like a commissioner is more action than a president. I feel like a president's there as kind of, I'm the face of the company, right? And I'm here, but I feel like a commissioner is someone that I would feel like, okay, like they're actually like they have processes and they've got progress and they're kind of more of a boots on the ground type of person. That's how it feels to me. I don't know for sure if that's what we're going to end up seeing. Obviously, we're gonna have to wait till June, July when she really starts to take over and kind of see what happens there. But I do like the title change of commissioner. I think that it's a positive one moving forward. I do think. Let's see. I want to hear. I'm going to read a couple comments that we're getting in from the YouTube chat right now. It says, "It sounds like she's going to shine a bat signal, and a W player is going to hop out." There you go. I agree. Although they alluded to her being employee friendly, they highlighted her bringing a 16-week family paid leave. So anyway, let's see. Title change sound more like a major league sport than just a business subsidiary in the past. Agreed. Agreed. That's again. That's kind of that's a probably a better way of putting it. Yeah, is that the title change sounds like, hey, we this is a sports league and we've got someone who's kind of leading
Mhm.
out in that, rather than
Yeah.
I'm the president of the. Again, that sounds
Pre-
some a little bit more like a
Presidents to
subsidiary
me, yeah,
of the NBA.
it sounds like an elected move. Hey, why don't you take over for a while? And I think when we hear commissioner, we think that's a hire, that's a long-term position
Mm,
we'd expect to see. Because I'll tell you, honestly, when it comes to these commissioner roles in sports, often the biggest tool and the biggest success point is longevity. What made Daniel Stern successful in the NBA is that he was the commissioner for almost 30 years. So he had the
right.
ability to cultivate the league over time. If we can feel comfortable this is a potential position that someone can hold for a while, that puts us in a lot of good footing. These constant starts and stops is it's really hard to maintain growth that way.
One thing that I do like that she brings is that she's worked in the past, obviously, working in the role that she has, prior to coming to the WNBA. She's worked a lot with corporations, right? And probably in corporate, having bring some of those relationships into the corporate sponsorship area could be huge. Because if we can get more money coming into the league through corporate sponsorships, I think that alone is going to help kind of bolster some of those discussions about getting more money in the pockets of the players. And I think once it starts, there has to be a first domino to fall. Um, it's either pay the players first, convincing the NBA to send a little bit more money down to the WNBA and pay the players first, because once you do
Mhm.
that, then you have the players being able to not have to play overseas, and instead they're playing they play their season, and then they've got the whole rest of the year to go out and they can be promoters. They can go and attend their local NBA franchise if they have one. They can go to those games and be part of that. When so many of the stars are playing overseas, they're not here building a fan base. And
Mhm.
that's unfortunate. You don't see players from other leagues in other major league sports. They don't go play overseas for the off season. They stick around their hometown. They get to serve in their community. They get to be a part of the city
Yeah.
that they're playing in, and I think that's huge. So I'm interested if that first domino to fall is if she can land a couple more large corporate sponsorships that want to go out and say, "Hey, we're supporting women. We're supporting the world's best athletes at what they do," and maybe not necessarily see a return from it, but do it almost kind of as a PR standpoint. That right there could bring a lot of money into the league,
Yeah.
which then goes into the players' pockets, which then allows them to build bigger fan bases, more ticket sales, more merch sales. All of that starts. There has to be a first domino, and I think that
Yeah.
she could bring something in that regard.
No, I like that. And I thought that with that year round focus and what we can do to phase out the overseas focus, Coach Hopkins touched on this on our show just recently. That interview is out now. You want to go listen to our interview with assistant coach Hopkins with Minnesota Lynx. He talked about his experience working off season with Danielle Robinson and watching her develop,
Right.
and how that's an experience that a lot of WNBA coaches don't get to have, is getting a chance to work and cultivate these teams in off-season workouts, in conditioning, and helping them develop from season to season. Because as soon as this season's over, they got to go to work. Kyle, you're a teacher. You have a certain part of the year where you're not full on teaching, and I know a lot of that is like you've talked to me about it. You work just about as much, if not more, when you're not teaching because you're getting ready for the next school year.
Yeah, it's
And
true.
yeah, and we've all been in that situation at some point in our lives where we're working multiple jobs. To know that you have, this is my employer, this is what I'm focused on, and I know that when I'm not doing this on the ground, I actually be able to put in the time to prep for it is important.
Yeah, the prep side of things is huge. Being able to get, and I know a lot of times we talk about the off season rest, just the physical part of things. These players, yeah, in the quote unquote off season, yeah, they're going to be getting some rest, but I mean, if it was me, and again, I'm not a professional athlete, so I can't speak for all of them, but I would think that a large portion of them would be willing to go out in their
Yeah.
communities, try and get some more fans engaged, go out into schools and go to universities, go around the community, go, work for a day at somebody who happens to be one of their sponsors, and meet employees there, meet customers and things like that, and being able to be a face in the community. When you feel connected to a team, you take more pride in that team. When you
Totally.
see players in, and not just in the WNBA, but in a lot of other leagues in all kinds of sports across the world, when a certain player takes like pride and they're like, hey, yeah, like, like for example, we both live in Utah. And I know that you're not necessarily a fan of a lot of Utah teams, but if there's a guy from Utah that's like, hey, like takes a lot of pride in the town that you live in or the town that I live in, like I'm gonna feel connected to that guy, and I'm gonna start to feel
Big
more
deal.
loyal and be like, yeah, like absolutely, man, like, and he's my guy, and so I want to go support him, or I'm gonna pay more attention to him, and that's kind of how it feels like for the Jazz here or something like that. That's the same thing with these women. If they cannot be going overseas, they get their rest and they get to go out in the community and build more on their fan base. So I'm excited
Absolutely.
for it.
No, absolutely. I think it's going to be a while for a transition like that. I think another question, a rebuttal that you hear a lot from people is, well, the WNBA season traditionally is a little shorter compared to other main pro seasons. So, you're going to have to find a way to expand out the season if you're going to make that happen to kind of justify that cost. I feel like any WNBA team player would tell you, well, hell yeah, let's do that. I'd sure love to have a season length where missing 5 games in an injury doesn't like ruin our chances at a playoff bye.
So true.
Like I think the idea of having a potential 5 to 6 month season and not have to worry about off season, that's the ideal. That's what we would absolutely live for. And so with that change is going to come a lot of other pieces domino effect. But what we have to do is try to keep things in house.
Yeah.
And when you're drafted to the WNBA, like we're your employer. Like we're here to build your career. You shouldn't have to worry about anything else. Another question I'd be interested about, and obviously this is a long discussion that we could talk for hours about, is obviously like what are we doing to help at least supplement overseas, because it could potentially hurt them in the long run. I mean, there's a lot of questions that are going to come out of a lot of this, but I think the end of the day discussion with this comes down to those are the hard decisions and the long-standing decisions that are going to have to be made. And Kathy will probably know more than anyone. These aren't things that you can just flip a switch and all of a sudden everything's better. This is going to take years, upwards of a decade potentially, to see all of this through.
It really will, yeah.
So we need someone who's committed. Are you ready to put in that level of work, or is this just kind of a fun thing you're doing while you're running this other large company? So we'll see. I mean, all signs look good. I think the pedigree's there. I'm excited to have a commissioner and not just have an NBA lackey running the draft. Like I'm excited to have this be full on. So that's good news.
Hey, real quick, I just wanted to let's go ahead. I know we've got the video queued up. Jason, if you want to throw up that video, I know Jason's he's
Absolutely.
our behind the scenes guy today. Throw that video up. This is the new commish making a quick address to everybody in her first opportunity with kind of on screen, making kind of some initial statements. So let's get that video queued up right now.
I think that I have a huge passion for the game of basketball. I have a huge passion for women's leadership. And I think, I'm really excited to be entering into the WNBA commissioner role as a real platform for all of these players, the owners, the whole basketball ecosystem, quite frankly, to drive it, to the next level. Clearly, the biggest opportunities for the league are to enhance the fan experience, the player experience, for there to be a recognition of how important a time in women's leadership and the W's role in that. So this is just such a great time for everyone to rally around these WNBA players, attend the games, sponsor the WNBA, use it as part of your women's leadership platform. I think there's so much potential upside. I'm very excited.
She brought that up quite a bit. She's excited to, what she said, promote players. Oh no, we went mute again.
Are you kidding me?
Again. Oh no, we're not. We're good. I think
Oh,
we're okay.
well, glad you could all listen to our slight panic.
Yeah. Okay. We're good now.
Yeah.
Anyway, but she's excited to market the players. I think that she's really involved in wanting to be part of what the league does, and part of kind of what we're trying to do with our podcast and with this YouTube channels. We want to share the background story of the players and kind of have these women feel like their story gets out there and they can be part of what the fans can feel connected again to them. And I think that her excitement to market these women, to have these women, it sounds like she wants to have their back. Obviously, trying to do it in a business sense. But I think that she's someone that I really have a lot of confidence can look to the future for the league and say, okay, where do we want to be? Not at the end of this season. Where do we want to be in 5 years? Where do we want to be in 10 years? Where do we want to be in 30 years? And what do we have to do this season to start on that path? And that's what kind of gets me excited about this. So
no, absolutely. No, I love that focus. I have the weirdest detail ever, man. But I was looking at the watermark for that video. Just that new font, man. It's good.
It's
a
nice.
Good time. It's just a good time to be a fan of the league.
It really is.
And listen, viewers, you might have been a fan of the double streak font. That might have been you, but to get that lowercase n out of the way is nice. Anyway, just some font love for you. That leads me to one last shout out. I know we're closing things down. This is my last honest thought here. You might have seen this. Obviously, where the WNBA is pushing a lot of promotional material. There's this new image. They've been pushing these T-shirts and sending them out to people, and they've kind of like, hey, tweet us, and if you win, you get the shirt. And I don't know if you've seen these. It's the WNBA word mark. They've got the new shadow logo right down the middle of it. There's some colored line accenting. Okay, whoever I gotta talk to, where do I buy this shirt?
How do we get one? Yeah,
I'll buy one.
I'll purchase it.
I'd love to win one, but I'll buy one. If anyone knows, please tell me. I desperately need that shirt. Anyway, I just got to get that out. Because I've been seeing the tweets and I've been seeing people at games and at events, and they're showing off this amazing. Like, dude, get it on me. Like, so that's my one big plug is hashtag find the shirt. Let's get that trending.
Let's get Steve a shirt. Oh, that's awesome.
Let's get you a shirt. Let's get all of us a shirt.
Speaking of shirts, Steve. Hey, do you want to tell everybody about the shirt that you're wearing? I think some of the people maybe watching right now, or some of the people who are going to watch this in the future, they don't know about your shirt necessarily. So will you kind of introduce the reason behind that?
Yeah, if you're new to the show, you may not. First of all, if you're looking for some merch, we have a Store Envy page. We'll tweet that out, put it out on Facebook, so you can get a look at that. We maybe even throw it in the description of this video. So if you're watching this after the fact, you can check it out. The I'm a Nobody shirt. I forget the name of the dude, but some guy responded to, I believe it was Asia Wilson, saying something smug across the lines of, "You're not getting paid more because nobody watches the WNBA." Just for the fun of it, from the WNBA account, we decided to quote tweet that and said, "Hey, retweet if you're a nobody." It flooded our feed. It was honestly heartwarming. I love it when the WNBA community comes together because, we support this and strong. And so that's what this is about. If you love the league and if you want to promote the W and you want to make it clear that, you know what, I stand with it. I'm a nobody. I love this league and I stand with it. Feel free to make your voice heard. You can find these on our Store Envy page. We have a couple other designs as well. You can get them at a lot of different forms. I'm rocking the dark blue long polo. You can get T-shirts. There's some baseball-style tees. I believe you can get tanks. There's a lot of different ways that you can
hoodies. We got
make
hoodies.
Yourself seen. Get hoodies. Absolutely.
Get yourself a hoodie. So yeah, I threw up the link to it. I don't know if it's actually a link, but I put up the way to find it. You can just copy and paste out of the chat there. But yeah, go ahead and check that out. By the way, the proceeds from the I'm a Nobody t-shirt, all of those proceeds actually, like, none of that comes to us. Okay. We don't use it. It doesn't go into our wallets or anything like that. We actually use the proceeds, any profits that we make from these shirts, we put them into what we kind of consider like the WNBA scholarship is I guess what we could say. Like, it's essentially where we take these proceeds and we're going to go out and we actually purchase tickets to WNBA games. and find people in those communities that haven't attended the WNBA game that are potential fans and get them in seats. We go buy tickets for people who need to go to a game. And so if you guys know of individuals, if you say, hey, like I've been trying to convince my buddy to get to the game, we could, he or she might be a really good potential candidate for your WNBA scholarship. We're kind of looking at applications for that. We're talking to teams about, we're kind of working the best way to go about this so it doesn't just turn into, kind of just giving out random free tickets to people who would go anyway. But we're trying to find individuals who are on that verge but haven't attended the game, because what made us big fans is we actually went to the actual games, and we went and we were like, holy cow, this is amazing basketball. This is the best version of basketball that we've ever seen. And from that moment, we were 100% all in on the league. And so we want to take that and kind of pay it forward with the proceeds from these t-shirts. So that's the I'm a Nobody t-shirt.
No, I love that. So definitely check that out on our Store MD page. Check out the link. We'd love to see your tweets. If you got a shirt and you're out and about with this, send us some pictures. We always love to see it. That's always exciting. And that also leads to, if you're looking for extra ways to support the show and support the efforts, also you can check out our Patreon page.
I'm putting that into the chat right now as well.
Different awesome kickbacks that you guys can support there. We're in talks right now to get some new content. Right now we have a monthly podcast we send out. We have some kickbacks. We have our first guest host coming up already. But we're also looking to put up some new additional content. You're going to see some more video content. We're hoping to get some video game stream potential pieces up, some other discussions and podcast level stuff that the regular feed isn't going to get. Only you'll get on the Patreon. And also we're looking to potentially expand out some other women's coverage. Kyle and I specifically are actually talking about doing some NWSL stuff, which we're excited about. I was actually just talking with some people over at the at Utah Royals FC about booking some interviews already. Like there's a lot of cool stuff in Lato there. So if you're out in the world of women's sports and you have some other stuff that you want to hear about, NWHL, anything else like that, let us know. Jason, all capsing NWHL. He's our resident hockey fan. So let us know. We want to expand that out. We have some other resources that are great for that over at High Post Hoops. They've got the 9, which is an amazing newsletter you should check out. But we would love to, continue to expand that out. If you have, if you want to be a part of the Patreon, feel free to check that out. There's different tiers, different kickbacks. There's still always going to be the show. There's always going to be these streams. If you don't, it's no problem. And the proceeds for that exactly go directly toward what we can do to help build the show and expand out coverage for you guys. So that's what we're here to do that for. So just across the board, I mean, we say it all the time, but with this nothing that we've done can be without our listeners and our supporters. And we thank you so much. You guys have been phenomenal. The excitement that you have, not only for the show, but for the WNBA and women's basketball in general, is exactly what keeps us energized and keeps us doing what we're doing.
Absolutely. I'm super pumped that we've had so many of you guys hanging out from the very beginning. I think a lot of you hopped right in and we kind of stayed right at the same amount of live viewers. You guys have been active in the chat. Thank you guys for being a part of that. We're super excited that you guys are here. We want to interact with you more and more. Make sure you're following us on Twitter. Feel free to send us a message on there. We recently opened it up so that we can accept direct messages from anybody. If you're on our Facebook page, I know a couple of you are on the Facebook page, send us a message there. As always, we try to check our messages on Patreon as frequently as possible. In fact, I recognize at least one or two of you from our Patreon that are joining the chat today. So thank you so much. As Steve said, there's a wide variety. It can be anywhere from just a couple bucks a month to if you want to contribute a little bit more significantly, there's some more additional kickbacks there. But we want you guys to be a part of this. This is something that we recognize we can't do all by ourselves, but if we collectively can get all of you involved, have you guys be sharing, what we're trying to do and sharing the good news about the WNBA, bringing people to games. One thing I know Steve mentioned this before, wearing that shirt, the I'm a Nobody shirt, people are like, what the heck does that mean? What are you talking about? And it's a talking point. You say, oh, well, let me tell you about this. Let me tell you about why I'm wearing this shirt and how I got this shirt. And so anyway, it's kind of a good chance to open up conversations about the league and find those other fans out there to grow the game.
I mean, literally today I was at work and that exact thing happened. It was like, that's interesting. And then struck up a conversation, and hey, that's actually pretty cool. I've always thought about it. It's amazing how that type of things happen. So no, definitely but yeah, this definitely always a lot of fun. We're here to support you. Always let us know what we can do to continue to give, more exciting and more beneficial coverage. But dude, we're a week away.
The season's here, man. The season is here. So excited.
Good stuff. So stoked.
I'm really, really amped about this. Thank you guys. I'm seeing now in some of the chat, a lot of people saying, hey, this is fun. Let's do this again. I agree. People saying, I usually listen to the podcast at 1.5 speed or 2 times speed. This was slower and chiller. I agree. Let's do this again, guys. We're hoping to make this a somewhat regular deal, maybe monthly. I don't know. We try and do the podcast weekly. Obviously, this week we've been putting out, 2 or 3. But maybe we look to do this maybe monthly. I don't know, but we'll try and do something to where we can have kind of a hangout like this. Hopefully we'll grow and get more and more people coming and getting involved with it. But
we'll work on the 1.5 speed. Like if we got to do some fast talking classes, we'll see if we can pull it off. I don't know. But also, we're going to be getting to a more official format with the podcast. For people who listened a lot during the season last year, we did our Triple W where we had weekly awards. We had our game of the week. All of that sourced by our Twitter followers voting on who the awards go to and what games we're going to follow. So after games of week, we might actually be throwing up some quick live reacts for those games every week. Expect to see this a lot, which again, like I said, hit the bell, get the bell on, hit that notification button on the channel. That way, anytime we are throwing something up, you'll get that notification. You'll know that we're jumping on and come be a part of it. We're always here. And hey, maybe this might be another kickback with the Patreon. Like if you want to be a part of the stream and come in to make your voice heard, that who knows, we might decide to make that a thing. I don't know. I'm not gonna. There 3 other people I got to approve that through before we do that. But who knows?
You got one of them right here. We got 50% of us, so we'll see. We'll see.
Definitely.
Now the one we got to talk about is Jason. He's our tech guy, so we got to figure out that stuff. We may have to do a couple practice runs with some other people, but all you need is a webcam and a microphone. It doesn't need to be fancy. So anyway, guys, thank you again so much. Steve, it has been a blast chatting tonight. I know you and we've been texting a lot, but it was cool to kind of actually talk through a lot of our thoughts on the news that's been dropping this week. Guys, make sure you subscribe to the podcast. Hop on iTunes or Stitcher or whatever you happen to listen to your podcast. Subscribe there. If you are on iTunes, we would love for you guys to leave us a 5-star review. We slowly have seen ourselves kind of move up, not just the WNBA podcast ranks, but like sports podcast ranks in general. We've been making a lot of progress as of lately, and I know a lot of that comes from the 5-star reviews that you guys are leaving. Obviously, our listener base has grown significantly over the last couple of years as we've done the show. In fact, yesterday and today, we actually hit our number 1 and number 2 biggest release most downloads per day that we've hit have been yesterday and today.
Amazing.
So we're seeing this growth on the show. We're loving it. Thank you guys so much for being a part of that.
Amazing.
So anyway, again, if there's anything we can do to better our coverage or connect with you more, we're happy to do that. But any last words, Steve?
Really, that's everything. This has been so much fun. I hope to do this one again soon. Do we just do we do like a traditional send-off? How's this work?
Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
All right.
I don't know. I guess Jason's the one that's got to cut it off. I don't know. We may say something and then just sit here for a sec.
Yeah, let's do that'll be cute. I like that. So guys, thank you so much for joining us. It's been so much fun. So until we run one of these streams again, or you hear us on the podcast, whatever, I'm Steve Schwartzman.
And I'm Kyle Haywood.
And we got you next time.